Your will lies deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose. Let's go. Thoughts can keep you down, pushing deep until you drown, or they can keep you up strong, focused on the now. Glass half full, or has it been emptied out? Well, that's all up to you and your mind. Do you doubt anything, everything, not a thing? Make my thoughts work for me, manifest what I need, what I want, what I see. I could be anything, I attract all the things that I see. I believe I'll achieve as I breathe in and out again and again. I don't doubt, I sit and I plan, and I found out that I can execute if I'm driven, if I listen, if I learn all the wisdom. Read some books, something written, watch the best, teach a system I invest. Never hidden, I ain't scared, ain't no chicken, I take dares. I'll be winning, you get back what you're giving. Find the reason that you're living, what you're good at, all your gifts and what you love. Take a risk and find out what you've been missing. Yeah. Your will lies deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose. Your will lies deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose.
Welcome to the Party Pals, GRC Mafia. Right out of the gate, we are here to break down barriers, foster collaboration, and community, working towards a more secure future for everybody. Definitely ask your questions, definitely a learning and growing environment. One of the best places to drop like your social media profiles if you want to connect with the rest of the community, or also if you guys have different resource links that you guys would like to share throughout. The best place for that is our Discord server. So that's going into chat right now. You could hop in there and then go over to our live chat channel to share your social media profiles or other resources throughout. Also, definitely go through, ask any of your questions here in chat, whether that's in Discord or on YouTube itself. LinkedIn is kind of back and forth. It really kind of depends. The streaming experience over there is not as refined as like YouTube, for an example. So if you would like to come up on stage after the presentation, you're more than welcome to do so. During these particular streams, we don't normally do that, but still, the option will be available there. Just don't share anything that you don't want to be public, of course. And today we're going to be talking about safety data sheets, so SDSs. And you might also be thinking like, how does that even apply? Well, it's also another form of risk. There's compliance and regulatory requirements regarding that as well. And it's often an area where, you know, especially those in the GRC space seem to overlook really. And that's one of the big reasons why we wanted to, you know, go through and start doing some of these more occupational safety related streams as well. And I'm sure Matthew can provide more context to that too. But also, how is everybody doing today? Here in just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and transition over to our ad roll. So also, if you guys are unfamiliar, we're not seeking any paid sponsorship at this time. Instead, what we're doing is we're just doing absolute zero cost, just shouting out different people who are also creators in the space, like B-Dubs and Cyber, and we got Cam, there's Cybersecurity Dojo, there's Brews and Hacks, bunch of different awesome people out there making awesome content and doing amazing things. And then also this Thursday, we also have our job readiness and group resume review session. That's every Thursday at 6 p.m. is our primary session. And the last Thursday of every month, we do our job readiness group resume review. This week, we are going to do things a little bit differently. If you guys saw the update inside of the Discord server, we're going to go ahead and do an attempt at mock interviewing during the live stream. We do have one volunteer to be the interviewee, and then PBO is going to be assisting us with the interviewing process itself. And we'll kind of just integrate that as a regular segment and see how that kind of works out. There's a couple different plans and strategies, ideas around it. Moving forward, definitely hop into the Discord server for more on that as well. Working away. Oh yeah, Ranya's always working. Always working. But yeah, let me go ahead and transition over here, and then we'll go ahead and get this presentation started. GRC Mafia.
Do you love cybersecurity and GRC? Do you like analogies stretched further than my hairline? Then do I have a channel for you. Hi, my name is Cameron, also known as Cam, and I want to invite you to check out and subscribe to my YouTube channel at CamGoddess, where I dive into various topics, frameworks, terms, and foundational knowledge within the broad categories of cybersecurity and GRC. I'm passionate about these things and about taking complex concepts and making them more easily understandable, more easily defined. Everyone is a nerd about something, so come, nerd, learn, and grow with me.
All right. And then thank you again, Matthew, for offering your time and so forth for these topics. I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Yes, it's a pleasure being here as always. I hope everyone is having an amazing day today. And the question of how this falls in line with GRC is a great question that we all should ask. There are regulatory compliances through OSHA here in the United States. And there's also compliance throughout the international level. We operate on what's called the GHS, or Global Harmonized System, to minimize risk throughout all fields, especially transportation is a big one, like with pentagrams, so people know, like if a container's carrying something flammable, there's an international symbol for flammable liquids, gases, etc. So people know before they handle it, like, oh, this is flammable, probably shouldn't smoke a cigarette next to it or have it in high heat. And before we start up, we're going to drop a link in the chat. This is a PDF link for OSHA that goes over the hazard communication standards, specifically the safety data sheets, and what the sections mean, what information needs to be in the sections. It's a great reference to what you need to have in a safety data sheet, and it's a great tool to have, especially in the workplace. Having this maybe posted near your SDS sheets would not be a terrible idea, so that way employees, it's a lot of information to have. So if something does happen, employees can quickly glance at it, go, oh, I need first aid stuff, and they can look at that sheet and go, okay, first aid measures are in section 4. Let's go straight to section 4 and figure out what needs to be done. And then that's less information they have to have on the spot, especially if something just happened. They may be experiencing adrenaline rushes and brain may be scattered. So having that readily available is a good idea. So safety data sheets involves any type of chemical, any type of hazardous material should have a safety data sheet on what it is, who the manufacturer was, if there's any first aid measures, what should be done. It also has information for first responders on how to fight a fire, or if there's some type of explosion, if breathing in the gas is harmful, because there's substances where maybe it's corrosive, maybe it might burn the skin, but once it turns into gas form, maybe it doesn't cause a severe effect to that. Uh, and then in the SDSs, there's also if there's a accidental spill, what you should do for the spill. Like if it's hazardous to the environment, it may say like cover any drains nearby, try to contain the spill as much as possible. Uh, if there's different compounds that you should or shouldn't use one way or the other. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. During this, we're going to talk about all the different sections, what they mean, what information is in there. And at the end of this, you guys should have a pretty good understanding of SDS sheets. So, protecting the workers. Obviously, we talked about regulatory compliance under 29 CFR 1910.1200. In there, OSHA has a whole thing about SDS sheets, how they should be presented, all of that fun stuff, required training measures for it, because OSHA does require training for SDS sheets if your facility needs them. We'll talk about accidental prevention. So how to be able to prevent any accidents by providing information using the SDS sheets on safe handling and emergency responses, all that fun stuff. And workers. That's going to help workers feel like they're important in the facility. When you teach them things that they should be taught, but a lot of facilities don't, it makes them feel a lot better, thinking they're a valued member of the organization. So, SDS, detailed document, has information about chemicals. Generally, can have materials also. It'll go over everything from the chemical properties to the reactivity of it. It has toxicology information, exposure limits, and all that fun stuff. The most important one, in my opinion, is probably the storage and first aid measures. Those are probably the most commonly used. So the global harmonized system. So we used to use a system called MSDS, which is the outdated system. We went to the global harmonized system to be able to have, as the name implies, a global system that everyone is following. For the most part, all major countries do, and limits the risk a lot with transportation because we do import a lot of chemicals and we export chemicals too. So it protects people on both sides of the continents. So that way there's no accidental exposures. And if something does happen in transport, they know exactly what it is because the people transporting should have the SDS sheets to be able to provide information on what was in that container and what its effects are on the environment and other people. Uh, the SDSs do have a 16 section format. The first section is always identification. The second one would be hazard. So it'll talk about what the hazards are. They'll have hazard statements, signal words, precautionary information, uh, and it may have a description of hazards that aren't necessarily classified, but they are recognized in some states or some countries as a hazard. Uh, and we'll go through and talk about the sections more in depth later on. 1 through 16 is enforced by OSHA here in the United States, and different countries may have a little bit more strict. Here, we're going to talk about the United States. Section 16 is also enforced by OSHA. Sections 12, 13, and 15, all of those are global alignment from other countries, and OSHA had a role in those too. Section 14, however, is the odd one out. Section 14 is regulated by DOT, Department of Transportation here in the United States, revolves around anything regarding transporting the chemical, transporting the hazard. DOT has special regulations for all different kinds of things, everything from it may be able to be carried in a standard closed trailer, or it may need to be kept under cool with a refrigerated trailer, stuff along those lines. And they may have restrictions in there that it can't go on like a certain highways and stuff like that, or critical infrastructure areas. So before GHS, it varied widely across different countries. Every country had their own different swing on things. They had different pentagrams for different things, which caused a lot of confusion and caused a lot of accidental injuries and instances that could have been easily avoided if we had the GHS in motion. So quick access info, those are the information that generally you need access to quickly, and OSHA has them at the front of the section so you can easily find them, hopefully quickly. Section 1 for identification, chemical name, any type of emergency numbers that may need to be used with the chemical, a contact for the supplier, and different uses that chemical can be used for. Section 2 is the identification of the hazard. It'll have the hazard class, indicating how hazardous the chemical is. It'll have signal words. Signal words can range along a lot of different things, but usually they're pretty basic, flammable, explosive, stuff along those. They're common words that people will be able to read and go, okay, this is what it is. They're not complicated. They keep it pretty basic. And then pentagrams, those are like when you're on the interstate and you see a truck with that with a pentagram on the back. It's the same pentagrams that they use that's in here. Uh, they're very, very easily recognizable. Some of them can be a little bit confusing if you've never seen it before, like oxidization and stuff like that. But we'll go over the different signs, and it'll have warnings in there. And it may have some first aid stuff, like not necessarily treatment, but it'll have stuff like corrosive to skin, irritant to skin. Section 3 will have the ingredients and the concentration amounts that are in it if it has multiple different chemicals in it. One common one is like diluted bleach. It'll have the concentration of bleach to water. And then section 428 is more of emergency response measures. So if someone's exposed, it'll have first aid, it'll have firefighting, it'll have accidental release procedures, it'll have handling and storage procedures, and any recommendations for what PPE should be worn while dealing with that chemical. And it is in the regulation for your employees to check the SDS sheets before handling a chemical. Chemicals can change, and SDS sheets can be updated. So it's important that before handling a chemical, you guys should look at the SDS sheet for that chemical to kind of refresh yourselves on what needs to be done if something bad does happen, and how to properly use that chemical. uh, Chemicals may have requirements for like latex gloves or vitral gloves, and that requirement may change later on with more research being done into chemicals and stuff like that. So you should keep up to date on what PPE is required, especially. Section 9, the chemical properties, that'll have like the boiling point, the flash point, pH levels, uh, anything that may be able to make the chemical unstable. And then reactivity for section 10. So this will tell you what conditions to avoid, if there's any materials that will make it become hazardous. And then toxicology information, exposure routes, symptoms, and what type of health effects you may be looking at if you are exposed through those ways. And almost every chemical has effects if you are exposed to them in certain ways. That's why we have this. Chapter 3, additional and admin information. Those are 12 through 16. The general employee is not going to be looking at, especially in production. Uh, Employees working in working closely with semis, like receiving or shipping and stuff along those lines, they may have to look at some of this stuff, but overall, not a lot of people look at it unless their job directly pertains to it. This will have section 12 has the environmental information of how it can impact the environment if it's exposed to the environment. 13 will have the disposal limitations and how to be able to properly do it. Generally, this would be telling you if it can be thrown away in regular trash, or if you have to call a special company that deals with hazardous chemicals, and they'll come and pick it up. They'll have like a container that they'll take it and they'll properly dispose of it for you. Section 14 pertains directly to Department of Transportation. That's revolving around anything transportation-wise, uh, whether it's going 5 miles or 100 miles, this regulation should be followed. And then Section 15 is the regulatory information about the chemical. If there's any if there is any regulatory information about the chemical, it will be in there. And then section 16 will contain the preparation date. It'll have all of the different versions of that SDS in there. And this assures that we're using the most current and up-to-date one. So if you see, you go on the website of the uh, chemical manufacturer. They commonly have the SDS sheets on their websites, and they have a more up to date one than what is in your binder. Then you can quickly print it out and get it updated. You don't have to question, like, oh, is this one up to date or is it not? You don't have to pull up both of the sheets and compare them. You can just go to section 16 and go, yep, this one is out of date. We need to update that as soon as possible. And that would usually come up in audits. Making sure that your SDS sheets are up to date should be included in an audit. So this is kind of real world example. On the left, we have a classification for chemicals for a flammable liquid. It's a category 2, which means it should be handled with care. Uh, it has the signal word danger, a pentagram signal for flame, and it has precautionary statements of keep away from heat, sparks, and you should wear protective gloves. The only thing I don't like about this is it just says protective gloves. It doesn't state what type of glove. So it could be talking about latex or nitrile gloves. It could be talking about wool gloves. We don't know. On the right, we have a actual safety data sheet for hydrogen sulfide. Uh, Up there in section 1, it says the chemical name. It has other means of identification, the different information for the supplier. Uh, Supplier details are not there, and emergency telephone is not there. Section 2, which is one of the more important sections, has the identification for the hazard itself. So it has the substance and mixture, it has the warning statements, it has a precautionary, and it has those pentagrams right there. Those pentagrams are universal. I can't stress that enough. So learning those pentagrams are very, 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 very valuable because it can help you quickly identify a hazard when you present to a scene. You can look at that SDS and go, oh, there's a chemical spill. You can look at that SDS sheet. You can see it's flammable, and you can contain the situation a bit better, knowing some information about it. Or if it's that pentagram on the far right is the one for oxidize, which is harmful to the environment. So if this chemical were to have a chemical spill, we don't want that going into the drains. We don't want it going out into the grass because it can kill the environment. It can be very, very toxic too. So these are responsibilities that both the employer and employees have to do. Employees do have some compliance with this also. So employers are required, if they have SDSs in the building, to teach their employees on how to read those SDSs. They have to have them in a available space. A lot of companies I've seen, they'll have them on computers, like in factories, they'll have them in computers in the work area so they can quickly pull it up. And then they'll also have physical copies throughout the facility in common areas that are not behind like a locked door or in the manager's office or in anywhere where an employee may not normally go. They'll have them in common areas where employees are generally at. They're walking by. They can easily access them if they want them to be accessed. Employers are also required to maintain current versions of SDSs. If you have out of date versions, those versions may be bad. They may have misinformation that has been changed, so it's important to keep them up to date. Employees are required to retain the information, know how to access and read SDSs. The employer can teach you, but it's your job to retain the information. Uh, they're required to attend the SDS training. The employer can't schedule the training and then the employee skip the training because they wanted to get work done. That don't fly. They have to attend the training if it's scheduled. If not, you can be liable on the employer side because you did not provide the adequate training. And then they're required to follow the regulations forth by OSHA by consulting those SDS sheets before working with the chemicals. A lot of times, people like with the bleach scenario that I gave, uh, they use that chemical so often. Let's say they're in the cleaning department, they use diluted bleach often or simply green often. So they may not look at the chemicals frequently, the SDS sheets frequently, but it's very important that they do just in case something does change and to kind of refresh their memory on what the required PPE is and what the exposure is like. And documentation. Whenever we have required training from OSHA, we want that documented that we did successfully perform our obligation to train those employees. If we don't have the documentation, then we don't have it recorded and it never happened. You could have provided all of the training that was necessary, but if you don't have it documented that you did it, who's to say you actually did it? And then it is required that we do system audits to make sure that those SDSs are up to date. So, how to access them? We talked about this a little bit already. You want to obtain it from reliable sources. So, a lot of chemical distributors they'll have it on their website that you can access, which would be reliable. It's coming straight from them. A lot of them, if they're transporting it to you, will include the SDS sheet in the transport. So it'll be like taped to the chemical box. Uh, and you'll just have to go and put it into your SDS sheet folder or make copies so you can have them throughout the facility. Having a few is not a bad idea. You don't want to use like AI, for example. You don't want to type in there, I have this chemical. Can you make a SDS sheet for me? Because that information may be out of date and it may not be a good idea to do so. You want to get it straight from the manufacturer so that way if there is something wrong with it, you got it from the correct source. So you're pushing the liability off of yourself. And always have backups. Don't just store your SDS sheets on the computer for employees to look at. What if the power goes out, for example? Then your employees don't have access to the SDS sheets. You want to have physical copies and electronical copies if you want electronical copies. But having those paper copies is a great, great, great benefit. And again, avoid unreliable sources. There are a lot of unreliable sources. I know of one website that has a whole list of SDS sheets where you can just go onto the website, type in the chemical name, and at that point, you're bringing a third party into the equation that doesn't need a third party. Just go straight to the manufacturer and get it from them. Even if they don't have it on their website, you should be able to call them. They'll email it to you. They'll mail it to you. They'll get it to you if you request it. So the impact of SDS is very, very powerful. So it promotes hazard awareness. It gives the employees information and first responders information. Uh, that's another thing that I did not touch on earlier. Uh, if you have a first responder team in your facility, if a accident breaks out and you have jump bags for them to grab, which are pretty much bags that will contain like AEDs, first responder stuff, like first aid kits, and all of that stuff to help stabilize someone, it wouldn't be a bad idea to slide a SDS book in there too. So if there is a uh, chemical hazard present in the facility, like a fire explosion or something like that, and that first responder is running out, they can grab that jump bag, which is usually already in our policy for them to do so. And then when first responders arrive on scene, they can provide them with the SDS sheet and go, hey, it was this chemical. Here's the SDS sheet. And they can look at the firefighting measures and the different exposure measures, all of that fun stuff. Then you have implementation. You want to implement these things as quickly as possible if you aren't already following the regulation. Uh, that saves lives in the long run. Uh, if something happens and you don't have these SDS sheets, it's not necessarily about you might get fined, you might get in trouble for it, but someone might lose their life over this. Uh, if firefighters don't know what they're fighting and there's a fire in the building and chemicals are involved, they may not put on the proper respiration equipment. They may even refuse to go in if they believe chemicals are involved and they don't know what chemical it is. They may refuse to enter at that time until they can identify what is actually burning. And combining all of these things together, you will always get positive outcomes. Uh, SDS sheets do not lead to any type of negative outcomes, they only go to positive. It helps save lives, helps prevent accidents from happening, and in the long run, it's a very, very, very good thing to do. And we have a, let me go back to the slide. We have a example somewhere in here, right here. So this photo on the right uh, shows something that you should not do. So part of the HAZCOM requirements with OSHA is you have to have the label on the container. You cannot have a liquid in a container and not have a label. So that you have an employee right here cleaning up a accidental spill. The container appears to have a crack in it, does not have a name on the container, so you have no idea what chemical or substance that may be. He is wearing gloves, thankfully, so that may help reduce exposure limits. Uh, but he's wiping it up with a paper towel, which may be the correct thing to do, but we don't know because we don't know what chemical is in there. So you want to make sure things are properly labeled, and employees know that if there's an unknown spill, you don't touch it. You wait until you know what that spill is. You can contain it, and you may have a special team in your facility to contain it, like first responders, but you don't want people to touch an unknown substance. Uh, there's substances that may interact with that paper towel and cause it to be uh, toxic. We don't know. So you don't want to risk that. You want to make sure that you're cleaning up in the proper way and you're not risking any of your employees' health or property damage. And does anyone have any type of questions about SDS sheets or anything we went over during this talk?
One of the different questions would be, okay, so we need SDS sheets, but how do we manage that? Like, where do you get these sheets from?
So I did go over that. So generally, when you order a chemical or substance and it gets delivered to you, commonly they'll have the SDS sheets with them, like taped to the box or in the box with the substance. Or the driver of the truck may have the SDS sheets. Or you contact the manufacturer. They'll commonly have it on their website, or contact the manufacturer and they'll get you that SDS sheet because they are required to provide the SDS sheets.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a regulatory requirement to it as well. One of the things that did point out to me, though, is I didn't realize this was like an international thing, that SDS was actually adopted internationally. Is that right?
So SDS itself is not international. That's OSHA's thing. The Global Harmonized System, which universally gives the pentagrams and stuff along those lines. Those are international. Uh,
Okay.
Other countries use extremely close to the SDS sheets, but may differ slightly.
I was trying to upload this sample SDS, but it's not wanting to show here. We'll see if it loads. But I did drop this link in chat as well, which is from OSHA, and it's a sample SDS handout as well. So that looks like a really good resource to actually get a real world view. Yeah, it looks like it did finally pop up here.
Yes. And then that link that I sent earlier for the PDF, that goes into great detail about what the sections are and what the information required in the sections are.
Yeah. Yeah, I was skimming through this as you were going through, and it's pretty detailed, 10 pages, and this is just one example. But it seems pretty straightforward. It's just like down here towards the bottom, it says precautionary statements. Wash face, hands, and any exposed skin after handling. Wear protective gloves, clothing, face protection, and eye protection, such as safety glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And this could also help influence policies and procedures as well.
Yes, yes. And then it also has like the physical state right there. It's a thin liquid. So if you open that container up and you see a thick liquid and it's not a thin liquid, that chemical may have been exposed to something it shouldn't have been exposed to. It may not be good to use anymore. And teaching your employees to identify that sort of thing could also prevent a emergency response from happening, because it could change the chemical makeup and the reactivity of it.
And like another thing that I think is really common is especially organizations that may not manage their SDS very well, or they're trying to do better with it, especially with labeling. Like, what are you supposed to do? What is a typical process when you come across something that's not labeled?
If it's not labeled, that's an unknown substance at that point, and that should not be handled. That needs to be taken very, very seriously, uh, because common thing is cleaning crews. They may have spray bottles with water in it, but they also have spray bottles with bleach mixed with water in it. And if they spray that bleach mixed with water in it on something that shouldn't have bleach, that can cause a bad reaction. Or maybe maybe they're playing around with their coworkers and they think they're picking up the water one, but they accidentally pick up the bleach one and they just sprayed their coworker with bleach instead of water, which shouldn't be happening in the first place. But that's something that we should consider when we're talking about this with not labeling your containers. And in the cleaning industry, I've seen that a lot where they do the bleach water mix or they use like Simply Green, common substances like that, but they don't label it because they go, "Oh, well, I'm using it. I know what's in it." But Simply Green, for example, has odor. It could, if you're not in a ventilated area, you have a potential of going unconscious if you breathe in too much of it. And now you're unconscious. You have a container that contains unknown substance. You have first responders coming that see the container of unknown substance and they see you on the ground unconscious. You think that first responder wants to risk it and approach you?
Well,
Which,
and also like something that I've seen is especially in mechanic shops and so forth, like spray bottles with gasoline, for an example, especially for small motors and things like that.
yeah, or
So
lubrication.
it could be kind of bad.
Uh, but yeah, no, if a first responder goes on scene and you're non-responsive, you can't communicate, and there's an unknown chemical that's been spilled or in the atmosphere, that first responder is going to back out. They may go and get a respiratory protection and stuff like that and come back in, but that can prolong your care, and you may cross over the thresh line of you may not be able to get treatment by the time they get you treatment.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is great information. It's a good thing that, getting some of this information out there and so forth. Like I remember the MSDS sheets, and I didn't even realize that was completely phased out. But yeah, and also I'm dropping Matthew's LinkedIn if you guys did want to connect with him directly. Did you have any final last remarks or anything?
No, no, it was a pleasure being here. It's awesome coming up and talking with everyone and sharing this type of information that needs to be readily available. And also, yeah, those MSDS sheets, those were
Too long ago.
those were confusing. And they still teach people about how to read those, but they were a lot more information than it needed to be. With the SDS sheets, they are very tight, very compact. I mean, you're talking about 16 different sections, and out of those sections, there's only really 4 to 5 that the employee actually needs to really pay attention to in normal circumstances. So it really breaks it down, and then involving the pentagrams also for people, especially that's one thing we didn't mention: language barriers. when people in all different languages are taught about these pentagrams, you avoid that language barrier. They don't actually, it doesn't need to be in their necessarily native language for them to know, oh, this is flammable, corrosive, oxidizing. They can see that pentagram and know, oh, this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can imagine. Yeah. And thanks, AB, for popping in as well, and everybody else joining us today. And then hopefully we can also put together some type of case study like we talked about before as well. But yeah, thank you all for hopping in. Definitely catch up with Matthew on LinkedIn if you have any other questions or otherwise. You can also drop that into our Discord server as well. And then you guys have a great rest of your day. We also have our meeting tomorrow, just as another reminder. And catch you guys in Discord and see you guys tomorrow. GRC Mafia.
Everyone have a great day.
Are you looking to break into GRC or cybersecurity or simply level up your career? Hi, I'm Brittany White, better known as B-Dubs. Discover insights and actionable advice at brewhite.io, where I drop a GRC-related article every Monday morning with a video read-along from my YouTube channel. Visit brewhite.io today to explore articles to empower your hacker mindset in GRC, and sign up for my free newsletter to receive them straight to your inbox.